Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 64 of the Social Liability Podcast, the podcast where we discuss those folks in our lives that violate the social contracts we all agree to live by, including my co-host Buck Grundle's dogs, who just decided to bark and yip and carry on when I started this podcast. But once again, I am your host, The Raspberries, with my co-host, the Buck Grundle, bringing you new and interesting stories from the far reaches of the internet. How's that, Buck, for just going seamlessly through that shit, huh? How do you think of that?
That was pretty righteous, my friend. That was pretty righteous. You want to hear a hip little factoid about your dear old friend Buck Grundle?
Let's hear it. I'm sure the fans of the Social Liability Podcast would love to hear a factoid.
Oh yeah. My name in Spanish is Buck Grundle.
And that has what to do with your barking dogs?
Nothing. They're Chihuahuas. I just try, like if I'm going to appropriate their dog, I might as well appropriate the rest of their culture.
Well, I for one am actually getting a new dog tomorrow, so I'm kind of hoping that he's not a barker, even though the breed is known for being a barker, but I anticipate them being much more well-behaved than your Chihuahuas.
Yep. You know what? I mean, you wish in one hand, shit in the other, Raz. You're going to have a barking little shit dog, and the second that little shit gets home, it's going to wrap you right around its forepaw, and, whoever thinks that that's the family dog is going to be wrong. That thing's going to start going to work with you, man. You wait.
Oh, I got a vest for it and everything. It might. But let's get kicked right off into this. We're going to start with my favorite website, Buck, and this is the Tampa Free Press. As a Florida man enjoys stealing catalytic converters in broad daylight. Deputies are searching for a Florida man who has a bit of a habit of pulling up to vehicles, crawling underneath, and removing their catalytic converters. The incident pictured below video occurred on July 29th in Port Charlotte. The individual seen here has been identified as Jason Fisher, 46, and is the suspect in another catalytic converter theft as well. Fisher pulls the heist off in under 1 minute and 30 seconds with no lift. The question is, why does it take an auto shop 3 hours to perform something much less expensive, like replace a tire? Just saying. Thank you, Free Press. And there is actually time-lapsed videos of this dude. He taking a catalytic converter in 1 minute and 27 seconds without even anything. He literally just pulls up, gets out of the car, snatches this thing, and is gone.
That's actually pretty impressive, man. I mean, I gotta hand it to that guy. That's
so
a minute and under a minute and a half for a catalytic converter, dude. I mean, this guy is seriously misusing his aptitude.
I am not a mechanic. I don't work on my own cars. My wife changes my oil, but I know that's kind of it's a pretty impressive feat. Let's just be honest. And I think they bring in a good point. Why does it take a garage 3 hours when this guy can do it in a minute and a half?
Yeah.
I mean, in all seriousness, let's be honest here. Because when I lived in Pennsylvania, I had to go, and it took me weeks to schedule a freaking oil change. I said my wife changes my oil. She used to. She doesn't anymore. So we'd call up. Okay, yep, drop it off in the morning, and it'll be ready sometime in the afternoon. Okay, and that's just what I accepted. Once I moved down here, so I was looking for, I was like, give me a reputable mechanic to get my oil changed. And they're looking at me like I had two heads. Like, why would I go to a mechanic? There's this place, dude. I pull up, no appointments or anything. You literally pull up, and they wave you in. You pull into the garage. And before you even get your window down, you can feel something going on with the car because you just drove over a pit. And there's a dude down there draining your oil as soon as you pull into the building. And then they said, well, we're going to change we're changing your filter out. We're draining your oil. Do you want synthetic or regular? And you tell them, and they go, okay. You pop the hood. They go over there. They pump it out of a barrel. You are out of that place in less than 5 minutes. They come out with a card reader. You swipe your card. Boom. boom, gone. Less than 5 minutes for an oil change.
Yeah, I mean, right, and this guy does a whole like. I have to confess, I am also a little deficient in the area of mechanical aptitude. I don't know shit about changing anything on a car. Not even like nothing. I know where the key goes. And now they got push button starts. But either way,
Those are awesome, by the way.
either freaking way. Minute and 30 seconds for a catalytic converter. And I just, like I said, this guy is just misusing.
This is wasted talent.
Yeah, man, he could be making bank. He doesn't even need to be an awesome Mazda dealership mechanic. He can just be a diesel mechanic. Those guys are specialty mechanics as well. I know I say just a diesel mechanic, but I mean, the machinery is a little bit, less fine, I guess.
Well,
would be a way of putting it.
Yeah, we're talking about this guy as though he's got this special skill and he should be in a different field, but something tells me he's going to be a lot like somebody we've both met in the past. I'm going to talk about when I worked in corrections. For some reason, somebody had a brilliant idea of we're going to use the work release inmates in the kitchen for the main facility. So the work release inmates who had access to the most contraband of anybody were walked up to the main facility and let loose in the kitchen where they could deliver anything to anyone. Brilliant idea, dumbasses.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hats off to the organizers of that heist.
Brian Clark. Anyway, so this whole thing's going on. As we're walking up there, one of the inmates turns to me and says, "Hey, I have GED class tonight." I said, "Okay, that's 4 hours away, no problem. I'll come up and get you in about 3. I'll bring up a replacement. That way you can get a shower and everything before you go." Before I do any of that, is anybody else going to go to GED tonight? One other guy raised his hand, and they turned and looked at this guy. His name was Felton. And they said, "Felton, why don't you come to GED with us tonight?" And I said, "If you want to go, you can go, man. It's open to everyone." And he says, "You know what I'm going to do when I get out of here? I'm going to rob people. Do you think I need a fucking GED to rob people?" I said, "Fair enough." That was the...
Yep. What was it? They paid him 19 cents an hour?
I don't even know.
It's all right, man, 19 cents an hour it is.
But, that's the thing. This guy, once they catch him and he goes into jail, you think he's going to go out and be a mechanic? No, he's going to freaking rob people.
Well, of course. It doesn't change the fact that he's seriously misusing a very useful talent. But either way, just to keep this going along, I'm going to give this guy a 2. He gets social liability score of 2 to me.
See, I'm going to also give him a lower score than I normally would. Now, if he was stealing these off of brand new cars, I'd be like, "Dude, you need to have your head crushed." But if you look at the cars, he's finding old junkers and getting underneath them. They're probably cars that are on their last leg anyways. So is he stealing?
Yeah,
Yes. Is he affecting more than one person? Possibly, because it's a family. That might be their only form of transportation, even if it is a junker. But he's not doing anything violent, so that kind of lowers the score for me as well. So I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna give him a 2. So Moving on, this is being reported by CBS4 Miami. Florida man found skinny dipping stranger in backyard pool. In Punta Grande, a man returning home from an afternoon doctor's appointment was greeted by a naked stranger in his pool. At first, he only noticed clothing scattered about the lanai. When he looked around, he found a nude woman in his pool and called the sheriff's department. I found a naked woman in my backyard. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm probably thinking of calling the police, but might not be the first thing I do.
Yeah, there'd be some Q&A before the cops got called. I'm just saying, just between you and me and everybody else.
When Charlotte County Sheriff's deputies arrived, the woman, later identified as 42-year-old Heather Kennedy, was reportedly hostile toward them and demanded they leave her alone. Deputies had to ask Kennedy several times to get out of the pool and get dressed. Once dressed, when deputies attempted to detain her, she pulled away and said she was not going anywhere. Kennedy was taken into custody and then to jail, where she refused to give her name. The sheriff's office was later able to identify her by using previous jail booking photos. Kennedy has been charged with trespassing and resisting without violence. I love when people say, I'm not going anywhere. Name one time that has worked.
You know what? I bet you we can open a book and go back through the annals of history to like all the way back to like before the Bronze Ages, to everyone who said, I'm not going anywhere. And I don't think I don't, excluding maybe an anomaly or two.
By saying I'm not going anywhere pretty much guarantees you're going somewhere.
Right. It's like by the time that leaves your lips, you've got 9 toes out of whatever door you are.
But they kind of contradict themselves a little bit, though. They said she was being hostile and she pulled away and she was not going anywhere and whatnot, but they resisting arrest without violence. So, I mean, her hostility might have been like, F you, you know?
I'm going to chalk that up to this being just what it is and them trying to, like, add some sizzle to the steak.
This is true.
It's like... it's like, it is just a naked lady acting like an asshole. So we gotta throw something in there to like, grab the reader.
There's no pictures of Miss Kennedy in here, and the fact that she was charged with trespassing and resisting tells me that they didn't like what they saw. Because typically, the naked woman charges don't usually amount to much.
And if it was somebody like super duper hot, I'm sure it would have been a story about police invited to a barbecue after guy finds a naked woman in his pool. Like, I'm sure that the headline would have been drastically different.
Yeah. Well, Buck, we are going to go right back to my favorite website, the Tampa Free Press.
I'm going to get...
God, we got to give her a score, don't we?
Yeah, she's getting a 2, man. No, I don't even think I'd give her a 2. I'll give her a 1.
I mean, I'm kind of there with you. She didn't... I have a real hang-up about people coming in my yard. I really do. I have a fence. If you're inside my fence, you don't belong there. I do. I was literally like just fuming today dealing with the cable company because we have an easement. Well, no, your easement ends about 10 feet that way, so F you. Anyway... So I can see being upset with somebody in here, especially somebody who is just there, whipping their schnavets out. So, yeah, but she didn't, according to their own stuff, that she was nonviolent. Probably a mental health aspect. Nobody was harmed, and this guy's got a good story to tell. So yeah, I'll give her a 1.
Yeah, I mean it's an isolated incident, and it sounds to me like it was something that was just egad, and then easy peasy.
Egads, egads. There's titties in my yard. Well, again though, we are going to head back to the Free Press, which I love. A Florida man and woman arrested on Hawaiian vacation with fake vaccine cards. A Florida couple was arrested in Hawaii late week. Let me start that again. A Florida couple was arrested in Hawaii last week after police say they tried to use fake vaccination cards for themselves and their 2 children during a vacation. According to the complaints filed by the Hawaii Attorney General Enzo and Daniela Dalmazo, looks right, were each charged, with Danielle facing 3 charges that included 2 for their children. According to the report, the couple tried to use fake vaccine cards for their 2 children who were born in 2016 and 2017 and were too young to have been vaccinated. The Florida couple is being held on $8,000 bail and have since posted. The arrest was part of Hawaii's Safe Travels program that states, 1, travelers entering the state of Hawaii can only apply for limited expansion from their mandatory 10-day self-quarantine under Governor IGE, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, under his we're just going to say the governor's emergency proclamation. All travelers entering the state of Hawaii must self-quarantine for 10 days unless they obtain an exemption. All travelers entering the state of Hawaii must also complete a safe travels form available from the Department of Transportation. Inter-island travelers are not subject to quarantine. Travelers entering the state who have been fully vaccinated in the United States may bypass quarantine without a pre-travel test. The vaccine record document must be uploaded to Safe Travels or printed out prior to departure with a hard copy in hand when arriving in Hawaii. The FBI have been warned about those making and using fake vaccine cards, as it is illegal. The unauthorized use of an official government agency seal is a punishable offense. A licensed pharmacist was arrested on Tuesday in Chicago on charges related to allegedly sale of dozens of authentic Center for Disease Control and Prevention COVID-19 vaccination cards on eBay. According to court documents in March and April of 2021, Tang Zhao, 34 of Chicago, sold 125 authentic CDC vaccination cards to 11 different buyers for approximately $10 per card. Zhao was a licensed pharmacist in Illinois and was employed at Company One, a pharmacy that distributes and administers COVID-19 vaccines in its physical locations nationwide. So, in order to bypass the 10-day quarantine period, they were obviously unvaccinated and decided to get fake cards and bypass that so they can gallivant around the tourist attractions of the great state of Hawaii.
All right. So before I get into like the actual like subjects here of the article, that pharmacist gets a 5 in my opinion. Like just completely sidetracked from the article, forging those kind of documents and dispersing them. That's pretty sinister to me. But either way, back to the issue at hand. Regardless of personal politics or how you feel about vaccines or, things of that nature, because it is absolutely one's right to not get the vaccine. It absolutely is. However, when you go as far as forging documents for you and your entire family to just go off and gallivant around a state where there are laws in place stating that you absolutely cannot do what you are doing. Like that's outside of personal politics. That's outside of personal rights or whatever. You have the right to not get vaccinated, but when they make a law stating that you can't do something unless you get vaccinated, well, by giving up your, by exercising your right to be not be vaccinated, you're forfeiting your right to, essentially that ride in the park. You just can't do that, Well,
like
there are laws there.
Here is the definition I like to give people, or not definition rather, but rather the example I like to give people. Your rights end where mine begin. Your rights do not trump mine. And when they have made restrictions, if you don't want to get vaccinated, fine, don't get vaccinated, but you have to comply with those restrictions. Now, do I honestly feel that this is something that you should do? Absolutely. You'll never get me to say anything otherwise. I have 200 employees, and I am down about 50 to 60 of them because I just heard my phone go off again. So as soon as the podcast is over, I'm going to have to deal with that. This is getting bad. I have known more than a handful of people have died at this point, and every day I am stressed out because of this, and because your ass did not want to get vaccinated, but you still wanted to travel around and do everything that you want to do. And there is an honest to God story I wish I could tell on this podcast because it is happening right now of somebody who did something very similar. I just can't talk about it. Hopefully someday I can, because I will do a whole episode on this. Unfortunately, because of the line of work I'm in, I can't talk about it. And it is literally like turning my stomach right now that I can't. So,
but back to the meat and potatoes, man. You're right. Your rights stop where my rights start. And these people, and again, if you don't want to get vaccinated, you know, I'll just keep my opinions to myself on that. But that again is your right. But stay the fuck at home. You don't have the right to, you know, encroach upon the well-being, whether it's, you know, factual well-being or perceived well-being. It's real enough to where people are making fucking laws about it. You don't have the right to circumvent the law in order to get your own fucking way. That's not how the system works. Unfortunately, this is a part of life where you just can't have your cake and eat it too. You just can't. You know, for me, that I'm gonna give that a liability score of a 5.
I'm right there with you, Buck. They're getting a 5. Now, yeah, we're just gonna leave it at that. We're just gonna give her and him a 5 and be done with it. If I could give them a higher score for dragging their kids into it, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that goes into my rating, man. Using your children as human shields. That's probably what they did. Well, but I brought my kids out. No, lady. No.
Nah. Okay, folks. Well, this is the normal part of our podcast. If you were listening on our audio version, which is available on Spotify, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Overcast, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Apple Podcasts, and CastBox, plus many more, you'll be hearing us talk about an ad break normally for Anchor. But instead, we want you to know about our show here on YouTube. If you could just like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, that would be awesome for us, because you'll see our live version of the podcast. Typically these are done Saturday mornings, but tomorrow I am going to go pick up our new canine and take the family on a little adventure that is 100% COVID safe, and I am thrilled to get out of the house because I haven't done so in like a year and a half. So that's awesome. But if you like and subscribe for us on the YouTube channel, that's great. If you want to listen to our audio version on the go, you can do so, like I said, on just about every major podcasting platform. That being said, folks, we're going to go back to our live recording in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Buck, let's talk about our next story. This is being reported by NBC News. Don't duct tape unruly passengers, United Airlines says in a memo to employees. So have you seen like all the stories lately of passengers getting duct taped to their chairs?
No, I have not.
So
I am. You've piqued my interest here.
So there's been people being complete asshats and like having mental breakdowns and stuff of that nature. One woman who was claustrophobic or something on an airplane and decided she was going to go out through the door in mid-flight. They got some duct tape and they duct taped her ass to the chair. United Airlines is telling their employees, yeah, let's not do that. Personally, well, let's read the story first, then we'll talk about personal stuff here. Unruly passengers have been duct taped to their seats on other carriers, but United Airlines officially wants to make clear they do not endorse this practice. Please remember there are designated items on board that may be used in difficult situations. The alternative measures such as duct tape should never be used. John Slater, Senior Vice President of In-Flight Services, told employees in a memo on Friday. He encouraged crew members to follow de-escalation practices and discuss the, quote, solutions with the captain, customer service representatives, and ground security coordinator for elevations and solutions, according to the memo. Yeah, someone's acting like a complete fucking lunatic. I'm gonna, well, let's get a group together and let's fucking ask. A United spokesperson told NBC News that the policies were not new. The memo comes amid a spike in dangerous behavior involving unruly passengers, including recent incidents where passengers were restrained using duct tape. Earlier this month, a Frontier Airlines flight from Philadelphia to Miami duct taped a man to his seat after he groped 2 flight attendants and got into a physical altercation with another. And in July, a woman aboard an American Airlines flight from Dallas, Fort Worth to Charlotte was duct taped to her seat by flight attendants after she tried to open the door mid-flight, as I was saying earlier. In a typical year, Federal Aviation Administration said the agency sees 100 to 150 formal cases of bad passenger behavior, but from the start of this year to May, the number has jumped to 2,500, including 1,900 passengers who refused to comply with federal mask mandates, according to the FAA. I'm sorry. I'm in a flying death tube. If someone is
Oh, yeah.
okay, you don't want me to have duct tape? Fine. I'll just knock them the flip out. How's that sound?
Fuck yeah! I'm not flying on American Airlines now, motherfucker.
I'm gonna.
Because now I know.
Well,
what are they gonna do? If
well,
somebody
no.
acts like a fool.
First off, it wasn't American. It wasn't American. It was United Airlines, and I wouldn't fly United anyway because United sucks ass. It is one of the worst airlines in this country, and I would never fly it anyway. But if we're gonna start banning them from being able to restrain these psychopaths, from now on, I'm gonna bring on every flight my emotional support brick, and I'm gonna use that to subdue unruly passengers.
Buddy, I'm in a wheelchair and I'd rather fucking walk. I'm just saying, man. Because when we're 6 miles above the earth, okay. When we are 6 miles above the earth, and somebody thinks that they are gonna open the door. I don't care what your reasons are. Oh, duct tape better not come out of the field of play, man. That better be one of the first fucking things you grab. like, oh.
So I come up with the comment about the emotional support brick, and you're like, oh fuck you. I'm gonna throw the wheelchair trump card in there.
Hey man. You know what? That comes with the parking pass. I can just
but I get no
throw it on.
I get no credit for emotional support brick.
Well, buddy, I'm sorry. You know, I got people for that. I haven't had to carry my own tools for a while.
Okay, how about this? I'm gonna grab someone's emotional support ostrich and beat them to death with it. How's that sound?
That would be foul play.
Oh my god, no.
Oh, you opened the door.
And you fucking leap through it.
Yeah, I rolled right in. It's like there's a ramp. But anyhow, nah, man. Nah, it's just 36,000 feet in the air, man. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. You duct tape, knock out, chloroform, park the meal cart on them, have somebody sit on them. I don't give a shit. I got MS and I have muscle spasms. And if I were spazzing out really bad and they were like, hey, for the safety of everybody on this plane, we're going to have to duct tape you to your seat. At least until this passes, I'd be like, go for it. You know, I'd be like, yeah, I got Catherine here to just itch my nose in case that happens. And then, you know, I'm good. You know, duct tape me. I'd be all on board. We're 36,000 feet above the earth. We are so dead if somebody opens that door. Duct tape, light them on fire and throw them in the bathroom.
Let's not start a fire on an oxygen rich environment, okay?
I don't get it's you know what? If I gotta roll the dice in this gambit of life, I would rather take the fire over the instant depressurization of an airplane 6 miles above the earth. No, thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and give United Airlines a social liability score of, are you fucking crazy?
You know what? I mean, I'm gonna give them a solid 3.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm kind of reading into here, they do say that there are devices on the plane that they should use as opposed to duct tape. Now, I want to know what that is, because this memo may be getting read different. This may be like being interpreted incorrectly, because if there's like handcuffs and shackles in a bag somewhere, rock on, dude. And you just don't want to use duct tape because of the visual and the optics that it's going to perceive. Because now everyone on that plane is going to be videotaping. We know that.
Now think about it like this though, man. Like go back, and we'll just touch briefly on this. Back when we worked in corrections together, they had other equipment too, and we had to carry those restraint belts.
You know, I never carried a restraint belt even once.
Nobody fucking did, man. Nobody fucking did. We had an old guy who is I won't name drop him, but he was an older gentleman. He was a Vietnam War vet, and he looked at me one day, and I was like, "Yeah, I never got
Him.
trained on those." Yeah, he goes, "Don't even worry about it." He goes, "You'd be dead before you got it on them." I was like, "Yep, okay." So, if that's the kind of other restraints or other methods they're talking about, grab the fucking duct tape.
Yeah.
United Airlines, like I said, they get a social liability score of a 3 to me, because they may have other methods in place, but putting out like a company like sensitivity training bulletin over somebody acting like a fool at 36,000 feet, it's like, all right, all right, we're not going to ban it completely, but don't make it the first thing you grab. Like that would be me as a boss.
Yeah. I don't think I'd put it in writing either. I just say, hey, tell your employees this shit, okay?
Yeah, I mean, like that would be something like that we mention like at the company meeting, like at the safety meeting before shift. I'd be like, all right, FYI, we may want to just make a mental note of this moving along.
Fun stuff. All right, Buck, we're going to go ahead and move on ourselves. As a post from the Pensacola News Journal says, Narcissistic Waste. Former Sheriff Morgan spends $75,000 of taxpayer money on statue of himself. Woo! Former Escabana County Sheriff David Morgan spent thousands of taxpayer dollars to order a life-size bronze statue of himself last year before the end of his final term in office. The current sheriff, Chip Simmons, called the 6-foot 4-inch statue, which arrived late last week to the sheriff's office, a brash, narcissistic waste. You don't make a statue of yourself, Simmons said Wednesday, and you don't use tax dollars to do it. Morgan defended the decision, saying it was not that big of a deal. I was the sheriff at the time. I think people may be wanting to make more of this than it really is. It's just a statue of me saluting the men and women of the Escambia County Sheriff's Office and first responders that died on duty. It's that simple. The statue of Morgan was one of 2 statues that the former sheriff paid for out of ESCSO's general fund and cost $75,000 for both. He intended them to stand directly in front of the main entrance to the agency's headquarters as part of its monument to fallen officers. I have no words for this, but I have zero intention of placing this thing in front of our building, Simmons said. The other statue is of former ESCSO Lieutenant Jason Ports and a canine. Ports led the ECSO's canine unit during Morgan's tenure as sheriff and has since retired. Both statues were designed and crafted by Randolph Rose Collection Design Studios, which specializes in bronze work and is based out of Yonkers in New York. Ordering documents obtained by the News Journal show that both Morgan and Potts posed to have their likenesses photographed from 360-degree angles. The photos were mailed to a design company so that its workers would have the images off which to model the life-size bronze replicas. It's a likeness of me, Morgan said. They took photos and they should have one of our canine handler, Lieutenant Potts, and himself and his dog. They're there for the memorial that's held each year. Morgan said he ordered the statues 2 years ago, but they were delayed because of COVID-19. The ordering documents and receipt, however, show otherwise. Morgan's handwritten signature appears on the document specifying the terms of the deal with Randolph Rose Collection Design Studios for the statues. Directly next to his signature, Morgan wrote the date, 4/20/2020, with the words, "Good to go." Doing bronze statues are pretty common, Morgan said. Go to the Florida Sheriff's Association. There are several of them in front. They're depicting deputies and sheriffs and first responders. Simmons said the only person at the ECSO who knew the statues when he took over in January were Morgan's former administrative assistant and the ECSO's financial director. He said he does not blame either of them for his predecessor's decisions. Simmons says that he learned about the order from the statues in May when he was preparing for his first annual ECSO Memorial Ceremony for fallen deputies and was looking into the possibility of adding generic, non-modeled statues to the ECSO's Memorial for Fallen Officers. As soon as I found the paperwork, I instructed the risk manager, Marcus Faulkner, to call the company and see if they could cancel this. I instructed him to find out if the company could melt it down, make a bench or something out of it, so there was something we could do with it. By the time the ECSO reached out to the design company, the company's representative said it was too late. They said no and that they couldn't cancel because it was already done. The company agreed to remove the bronze name tags, which read Morgan and Potts, on the statue shirts, and the ECSO may still place the statue of the K-9 deputy somewhere on the campus. With the names off, the statues can pass as generic statues of a deputy, Simmons said. However, the Morgan statue, which features not only arm patches that read County Sheriff, but also a chest decoration with U.S. Air Force medals, which clearly resemble the former sheriff's image. It's clearly him. Now, Simmons said he is left in a position to have to figure out what to do with the statue. I've made some inquiries locally to companies about the possibility of melting it down and making it into something else we could use, but we have not gotten very far. Wow!
Oh, what in the... This is why people who are in charge of shit should never ever have access to the checkbook. This is a perfect example of what in the ever-loving... Perfect way for me to give back to my community is to make them a statue of my likeness so they know I love them. Oh.
This is
I'll immortalize myself.
This is Roscoe P. fucking Coltrane here.
Yes.
If Roscoe and Boss Hogg had a baby, it'd be this motherfucker.
Yeah, and then he goes and you know, I'm gonna make it in homage to the deputies of my county, but I'm also going to emboss myself in my Air Force regalia.
This motherfucker he had his nameplate on it, for Christ's sakes.
Oh my gosh. And then, you know, I can't imagine this other dude, this K-9 dude, being any better.
No, he was probably this dude.
You know,
he was probably the bottom bitch for this guy.
Oh yeah, man. I can tell you what, they hang out at the VFW together every night. They do. They sit around like two has-been bargoyles, just sitting there drinking dollar beers, and they're fucking like sitting there, the sentinels over their perch. It's like over everything they see above the bar. Got it. Theirs, and they just come up with these dreams of grandeur. And you know what? They poor fucking bastard working the bar at the VFW. You know he has to buy into it, because if they're only paying $1 a beer, you know this guy ain't making a wage. He's got to rely on whatever tips these Social Security bandits can fucking give him. And you know what? He's just sitting there plucking them like a fiddle, man. Just inflating their egos, and then all of a sudden we got a $75,000 bronze, two $75,000 bronze statues. And somebody,
this motherfucker, dude.
Oh, the poor guy at the office, when he sees them come off the truck, he's like, "What the fuck?"
Oh my God.
Yeah. You know, somebody our age is probably just sitting there shaking their heads going, there's no way I'm going to explain this. What the hell do I do? Guy's like, what? I thought it was a great idea. It's like, oh,
you thought wrong.
It's like the guy drank the Kool-Aid before he could even let anybody know it was a thing. Shit.
Dude, taxpayer dollars. I'm sorry, waste of taxpayer dollars and police corruption. I'm giving it a 5.
I'm gonna stick with a 4. I just think I guess I'm looking at it more from the humorous aspect than anything. I think that's shrouding my judgment. I just can't get over the image of two old guys, just like craft. They're sitting there like, oh, I got this new thing.
Hey, Buck, we gotta do? We gotta get a couple statues and put them out front, you know? Yeah. We got some extra money in the budget. I've been writing tickets for people going over 2 miles an hour over the speed limit. So we got plenty of money in the coffers. Let's get yourself an ice statue. What do you say? Come on. Let's go.
Oh my God, man. You know what? I'll tell you what, man. As a monument to the 8 listeners that we have here on the Social Liability Podcast, I will erect a statue made out of styrofoam. Made from, I don't even...
Made completely out of white trash.
Yeah, but it's an insult to polystyrene. But either way, man, social liability score of a 4 from the good old Book Grundley.
This next one is by CBS 5 News, WKRG, out of Mobile County. Wife's boyfriend shoots husband after secretly living in their home, charged with attempted murder. This is going to be a good one. A bizarre scene unfolded Sunday night after 2 men were shot. On Sunday night at their home in Skidmore Road, I can't make that up, and in Creel, Tracy Reeves went to her husband and told him there was an intruder in the home. That led to a gunfire between the homeowner, Frank Reeves, and Michael Amaker. What Tracy Reeves didn't tell Frank Reeves was that Amaker was her longtime boyfriend and had been living in the home without the husband's knowledge. Captain Paul Birch of the Mobile County Sheriff's Office said that the boyfriend had been living in the house for more than a day. Something tells me it was more than that. She had been allowing him to stay in the home for a couple of days, providing him with food. There were bottles of urine in the room, which indicated he'd been there for a little while. Frank Reeves suffered a gunshot wound to the chest. Amaker was shot in the leg. Both were taken to the hospital where Amaker remains. Amaker faces charges including attempted murder, possession of a controlled substance, possession of a firearm with an altered serial number. Because Amaker is a convicted felon, federal charges are forthcoming. Drugs played a role in the incident. Deputies noted Tracy Reeves was intoxicated at the time of the shooting and was too incoherent to be interviewed at the scene. Wait
a second. Are you telling me that there were drugs involved in this?
I am telling you that drugs were apparently involved in this.
Oh my God. Continual avant-garde, mon ami.
Would you care to guess what kind of drugs?
Oh, man. I'm going to have to say... meth.
Officials say Amaker is well-known in the methamphetamine community with multiple past charges of manufacturing and possession of a controlled substance. Birch and investigators believe there is more to the story, however. They said it could have been a murder-for-hire situation, a possible explanation as to why Tracy Reeves told her husband that there was an intruder. Another thing with meth, Birch said, people that are on meth not only do they have paranoia, they can't keep their mouth shut. So if there was some kind of diabolical plan, it is very possible that Amaker has told some other people prior and is certainly not after the fact. So I want to know where he was. I want details. I want to know where he was at in the house. I want to know.
Man, I'll tell you what, man. This is a good one, man. And I'll tell you what, Seabiscuit took it by a nose with the meth gas. Woo! Ha ha!
But where do you hide? Where do you hide somebody in your home? And if I'm guessing it's not a very big home. It might be though. But if she's a meth head, and I doubt it.
You know what though? I'll tell you what, man. That guy we're talking about meth heads here, man. The guy's got bottles of urine in the closet, so he's definitely he planned to head that far, or he's got somebody feeding him bottles. Meth heads, they typically don't eat. So as long as he's got like a steady supply of meth, he could have been in there for a day or two without having to take a dump or anything.
Well, here's the thing.
He wouldn't have...
Oh no, I'm gonna extrapolate on this a little bit from experience. So when you tell people that, hey, what do you do for a living? I'm a private investigator. Oh, that sounds interesting. It's not. It sucks. That job blows. I have pissed in more Gatorade bottles than I care to try to remember. That being said, I have never filled more than 1.5 bottles of Gatorade, Gatorade bottles in a single day. So if there was multiple bottles there, this motherfucker's been there for a minute. He's been there for a minute. So I want to know where in the house this dude was hiding that homeboy never found him or suspected he was there. And he's been there long enough that he's storing piss bottles And she was bringing him food, obviously, because he could, Where is he shitting? That's another thing. I mean, you can hold that in, wait till homeboy goes to sleep, sneak out and use the toilet, but or wait till he goes to work, which is probably the most likely scenario.
I just think he wasn't eating. I don't think he was eating. My guess is drop ceiling, like up in a drop ceiling, like maybe in like a crawl space, like it could be. I mean, some people have houses like that. Like the upper portion of their house isn't like an attic, but it's kind of like a partly finished crawl space where they store all their shit.
It's true.
Could have been something like that.
But I want to know.
I mean, it could have been something like that.
I want to see pictures of it. I want to see pictures of his fucking spider hole.
You know what though? This is just so fascinating. Like, try to like get the inner machinations and shit like this. Is just like, woo.
In what world do you think I'm gonna move my boyfriend in with my husband and I'll keep it a secret?
Right. Like, what kind of mental mathematician does the calculus in this? Like, where in this whole equation did this equal to good idea?
And for this guy, and from the guy's perspective, oh, she wants me to move into the house with her. That's a great idea. I'll just have to keep it a secret from the husband. That's going to be over real goddamn well. It's going to go over well.
Hey, you know what? If she framed it as the most epic game of meth and seek, like, the guy's quite, steady supply of meth, hide in a crawl space. So what? Got to pee in a bottle. Got a steady supply of meth. Girl comes up into the crawl space, gives you a little something, goes back down.
I mean, that pussy must have cured cancer. That's all I have to say.
You know what, man? I mean, like, she probably had candy flavored nipples. Who gives a shit? At the end of the day, all these people is a glowing example of why aliens don't fucking talk to us. And that's all it is. I mean, I'll bet you right now that we could look at any one of them and they wouldn't know the name of the state capital of where they live, but each one of them could recite the directions on the back of a shampoo bottle. Yeah.
Well, we're just going to leave it at that, folks. So that brings us to an end. We got to score him. We got to score him.
Oh, man.
Go ahead.
You know what? I'm going to give him a 3, man. Run of the road.
Dude.
Because who knows what the fuck they were doing?
He tried to kill a motherfucker. You're going to give him a 3?
Yep.
No.
Justifiable homicide, man.
Justifiable?
I'm just messing around.
Fuck wrong with you?
Oh.
This motherfucker tried to kill a man in his own home. 5.
Oh shit! You know what? There has been a critical failure in the reading comprehension or listening comprehension department. I thought that this dude was the victim, not the perpetrator.
They're both shot. The homeowner was shot in the chest. Meth head was shot in the leg.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But see, you know what? I'm not gonna give him a 5. I'm still gonna give him a 4. I'll bump it up because I grossly misunderstood his the whole dynamic of the standoff here. But still, no. You know what? Whatever. Guy was shot in the chest. You know what? I mean, I feel bad for him, but at the end of the day, kind of, know who you're sharing your bed with. Yeah, it's, Well,
that all said, you can catch us each and every week. We have new episodes coming out. We are 64 episodes into this little adventure, and Buck seems a lot happier than when we started. So let's keep that ball going. Anything else, Buck?
Don't chew the Trojan gum. It tastes like rubber.
Well, I am your host, the Raspberries, with my co-host, the Buck Grundle, telling you, don't stick your dick in crazy. Have a week, folks.